Hello and welcome to the Night Feed. I'm your host, Charlotte, here to keep you company during, let's face it, one of the toughest parts of being a new parent, the Night Feed. Tonight I'm talking new mum's biggest regrets, resenting your partner, comparing exhaustion levels, and lots more. But first, tonight's unpaid sponsor is cleaning up after a weaning baby. Is there anything more messy than a very independent weaning baby? I began this weaning journey by feeding my baby boy myself, but he's not having any of that now. He's Mr. Independent. He likes his own fork, his own spoon, and he feeds himself, which I'm very proud of. It's wonderful that he wants to do that. It also means that it's an outfit change after every meal. And I know people will say, why don't you get one of those all over bibs that you can wrap around them? In my eyes, that's just another thing to clean, really. So we used to have the kind of trip trap style high chairs. And I'm going to give you this advice now as a mum who's done weaning 3 times. Those trip traps are great and they come with a little attachment. It wasn't actually the trip trap brand I used. It was Hawk, like HUK off Amazon. They're lovely looking, aesthetically pleasing high chairs that slide under the table. They can use them till they're about 5. They're all well and good, but boy does the food get in the grooves. So this time I opted for one of those £15 IKEA high chairs that you see in cafes that you can just give a good old wipe down. You can take the top off, you can wash it in the sink. Highly recommend that because boy is weaning messy. I find myself cleaning them, and I'm not an overly OCD person, by the way. I'm not OCD level clean. I know that with kids there's going to be mess. But it gets to a point where the kitchen is caked in Cheerios, beans, food from one meal, and you're like, wow. In fact, we went to Bent's last night, which is a lovely garden centre in the northwest. If you're local, you'll know it. And we just decided, instead of having tea at home, we'll go out. And the mess he made on that high chair, I was too embarrassed to let anyone else clean it. It was mental. Peas, bread, just everything you could imagine. So we went and found a broom, and Jason he cleaned the floor, and the lovely lady come over. She said, "Oh, you can't be doing that." And I was like, "Well, no, I don't want you to have to clean this level of mess, because there's dropping a bit of food on the floor, and then there's, this mess." So yeah, cleaning up. It's no mean feat. And I did see another thing you can get for weaning babies, which is a high chair attachment that goes kind of under them and is meant to catch all the food. But again, my argument is, it not just easy to sweep the floor and mop rather than having to clean a massive big tray? But yeah, there we go. I hope you're all doing well wherever you're listening in the world. A little note I thought I'd start with. For those of you who are brand new mums in those newborn trenches right now, I just wanted to let you know that my baby is now 11 months, my 3rd baby, and it's remarkable how fast they grow and how much easier it truly gets. There was a time when I could hardly leave the house because I was exclusively breastfeeding, cluster feeding, and you just have to be within a 10-metre radius of that baby most of the time. Like, you can nip out, but it feels like you've got to be quick and you got to get back. Because when they're little and they want feeding, don't they? And Jason's brilliant, don't get me wrong. Like, he will have him as long as he can. He's not the type that's like, oh, he needs feeding. Like, some women get really frustrated with that. I get that when they just like, whenever the baby cries, it's because they need feeding. He tries to entertain him for as long as he can when it comes to that. But yesterday, I was getting a bit pent up in the house, and I just got out with my 3-year-old. Jason had the baby, and I was like, I just need to get out. So my 3-year-old and we went to the shops, and we had a lovely time. we were out for a couple of hours, and it was lovely having this one-on-one time with her. And it just made me think about all you new mums who are right there now thinking you can't leave the house, you're attached to the baby. Even when you do leave the house, you feel like you've got to be quick and get back to them. It's completely natural. It's completely normal to feel that way. I just wanted to remind you that it gets easier to the point where I'm now missing the newborn cuddles. So there you go. There's the motherhood paradox, is with every stage, you mourn the last stage. But yeah, just to let you know that if you are struggling in those early weeks and months with the tiredness and the constantly being attached, it does get easier quicker than you can imagine. I came across an article the other day about the biggest regrets mums have when they look back on the newborn days. So I did a little deep dive and I found the 10 most common regrets. And I thought it would be good to share it with you guys who are in those newborn days right now, as I've just said, in the thick of it, in the hopes that you could try and avoid a few of these, because I think they're really common and it's something maybe you don't think about in the moment when you're battling through, trying to learn everything, trying to understand what your baby needs. You can maybe forget certain things. So the first regret is trying to do everything alone. Many mums later realise they should have accepted more help instead of trying to prove they could cope independently. And the pressure to be self-sufficient often leads to burnout, resentment and isolation. So that's a really common one. And I think I've said this before on the podcast, as a mum, you can be very much, I'll do it. I'll just do it. It's easier if I just do it. And then you turn that into resentment then. You're like, well, I just have to do everything. So very important, recognise when you're doing everything. And if someone offers to pop by, like your mum or a friend, take them up on it. Let them hold the baby for an hour. Do something with yourself. Number 2 is not taking more photos with the baby. Really common, this one. Very easy to take pictures of other people with your baby, then look back on your camera roll and be like, oh, there's none of me. Try and get those pictures. Even if you set your phone up one day while you're playing with the baby, set your phone up and let it, I think there's probably an automatic setting on an iPhone now, isn't there, where it just takes pictures, or you could do a video and screen grab from the video. But do that. Even when you've not got your makeup on, even when you're not looking or feeling great, in 50 years' time, you will cherish those pictures. So just a little reminder, get your phone out today while you're playing and take a few pictures. Number 3 is worrying constantly about doing it right. So much early motherhood gets consumed by anxiety. We talk about this all the time: sleep schedules, feeding schedules, milestones, online advice, comparison. Many mums regret not being more present because they were stuck in survival mode mentally because of all them things. I saw a post the other day about someone being consumed by wait windows, not leaving the house because they're scared that they'll miss the wait window. And I think all of this noise really can drag you down. So just a reminder to be present. Be really present as much as you can and try not to worry about doing everything perfectly. There will be days when the baby doesn't nap. There will be days when you have to go out, and that's that. You know, when you've got one baby, it's very easy to get trapped in the whole military sleep schedule. But think about me, for example, with 3. My baby boy, he isn't able to have the most rigid sleep routine. He has to go with the flow. So remember that when you're getting bogged down by things and, you know, passing up and going out for a coffee with a friend, take the baby, they'll sleep in the pram. Don't worry too much. And just remember, be present, because that is a big regret for a lot of mums. Number 4 is comparing themselves to social media mothers. My all-time favourite, of course. It's a major modern motherhood regret. What bothers me most about this is seeing inside people's houses, and I was thinking about this the other day. There's an influencer I follow in the States. Her house is immaculate. She has a baby the same age as mine. And I always think about her for some reason when I'm tidying. I'm like, God, her house is so clean. And I am the biggest preacher about this, not to compare, not to go on social media. I do it. And I'm like, why am I getting so bothered about her? Why? She probably has cleaners, she probably has help. And it can really grind your gears. So, real big one. If there is someone that keeps cropping up in your mind or something that's bothering you, try and unfollow them and just step away from it. Number 5 is going back to normal in inverted commas too quickly. So whether it's work, housework, exercise, social obligations, trying to bounce back, many mums regret not allowing themselves proper recovery and rest after birth. Huge one, this. Modern motherhood, we're told we can do anything. We're told we can go back to work, we can snap back, we can get down to the gym because we should. Please don't read too much into that. Please be kind to yourself, because if you push yourself too much, the people around you are going to feel it the most. It's all well and good trying to keep up appearances, but if it's going to make you crumble inside, then it's your baby that's going to feel it. It's your partner, it's your family. So really prioritize your well-being. And if that means leaning into the snuggles, putting your feet up while you feed, watching some series, when else are you going to do that in your life? When else are you going to have that really solid reason to sit and recover and rest and look after yourself? Number 6 is not speaking up about their mental health earlier. Many women later admit they hid postpartum depression, anxiety, intrusive thoughts, overwhelm, rage, and loneliness. They regret suffering silently because they thought struggling made them a bad mum. That is absolutely the opposite of the truth, isn't it? If you are struggling mentally, emotionally, it is so important to get support. Even if that, to begin with, is talking to someone close to you and saying, this is how I'm feeling, so that they can help you get the support you need. There is so much support out there for perinatal. There's perinatal clinics. There is the health visitors, your healthcare professionals, wherever you are, there will be a service for new mums. So it's really important not to hide it, not to conceal that you are not a bad mum. And it is so much more common than you think. So always reach out if you feel you need to. Number 7 is putting pressure on themselves to enjoy every moment. One of the biggest hidden regrets is feeling guilty for not loving the newborn stage all the time. Many mums later wish they had understood that loving your baby and struggling with motherhood can coexist. Again, really important. And I think this is because social media makes it look really glossy and lovely and fun, and it's all wonderful. And then now and then you'll see someone say, this is the reality, this is how I'm feeling. Just remember that you're not a bad mum if you have a bad day. I had a bit of a meltdown on the school run today and I feel really bad. We were early, and then because of the umbrellas we needed, shoes weren't being put on, it made us a bit late. And I got a bit angry. I had the baby in the sling. The girls were just really taking the time, dragging their feet. And I was like, come on, I don't want to be late. We need to get to school. We had the umbrellas up. That made them walk like 10 times slower. And I got a bit snappy. And I feel really bad for that. I do. And I had a chat with my 5-year-old going in. I could see she was a bit low. And I felt like an awful, awful mum. And I wasn't even that snappy really, but I just explained, you have to understand that we were early and this is what happened. And I've come away from that feeling really quite low. And like I said, it wasn't really bad. I was just a bit like, come on, we've got to go, rushing them out the door. And motherhood can make you feel wonderful, and it can make you feel like the world's worst person all in one. And it's just really important recognizing that we all have moments when we're like snappy or we're down or we're low, and it doesn't make us bad parents, it makes us human. And my 5-year-old is so emotionally available and aware. I love that about her, because when I have a bit of a snappy morning, I talk to her about it and I say, Mummy was tired and this is why, and I explain it in quite great depth really. And then when she has a meltdown, she'll then come to me 10 minutes later going, I'm really sorry I did that. It's just because of this and I wanted that. And seeing these real emotions actually opens up conversations, I think. So it's just not to beat yourself up if you're having a bad day. We all have them. And I think if anyone says they have perfect days every day, they're not being completely truthful. Number 8 is neglecting their relationship. Early motherhood can completely consume couples. Many mums regret not protecting time for connection, communication, and emotional intimacy with their partner. This is a big one. You like passing ships, aren't you, sometimes as parents to young children? And again, I think comparison comes a lot with this. It's easy to compare and think, oh, everyone else they've got it nailed, But I think anyone with kids under 5, particularly, the level of exhaustion, number one, the fact that you're both here, there, and everywhere with the kids, and chores, and cleaning, and bedtimes, and schedules, and there is so much. So this is really important. Just making sure that you're both communicating, I think, is the number one. How you're feeling, and being intentional with the time you have together, not just sitting on your phones or watching telly, but try and prioritize each other. Number 9 is listening to too many opinions. Family, TikTok, parenting forums, influencers, unsolicited advice. Many mums regret letting outside voices overpower their own instincts. Really important one. Number 10 is forgetting themselves completely. Perhaps the deepest regret is losing their identity early in motherhood. Many women say they stopped pursuing hobbies, seeing friends, resting, dressing like themselves, and dreaming about their future. And they later realise that a fulfilled mother matters too. And this is one that comes up a lot on social media, a lot in the news, a lot in forums, is forgetting who you were pre-mother. And I think almost when you become a mum, you do take on a new identity. And for me, I love it. I feel like this is why I'm here, to be a mum. I've never felt so happy and content in doing this. And that isn't the case for everybody. Other people love being a mum, but they love the career as well, or they love being a mum, but they need to get out and I love it. It is all consuming, and that can sometimes mean we just forget to give ourselves time to have a hobby, or give ourselves time to see friends, and it is important to do that. It is really important to do that. So yeah, it's just scheduling that time in, and when you do get some downtime, instead of doom scrolling that I know a lot of us do, it's maybe prioritizing learning something new. I keep seeing air dry clay on TikTok all the time, and I'm so determined to try it. I got some the other day from the works, and it's just kids' clay. It was £5 for this box of, it looks like putty and slime almost, but you can make little figurines and it dries like instantly. The girls love it. And the other day, Jason had the baby. It was the weekend, and he had the baby for the morning. And he was just playing in another room with the baby, and the baby was content. He was loving life. So I sat with the girls. It was at least an hour, and we just made little clay figurines, and I was loving it. And I forget how much I love being creative, because it's hard to find that time, isn't it? So if you can, just maybe find a little hobby that you can do while the baby naps that isn't just on your phone. And you never know, you might spark a new passion or a new creative outlet you never knew you had. Next tonight is the emails. This first one says, struggling after baby and feeling alone in my relationship. Hi Charlotte, I know how this might sound, but I really need to get it off my chest. I love my partner. He's always been my rock. But since having our baby, I've started to feel a lot of resentment towards him. Every time I try to open up about how much I'm struggling, it turns into an argument. And I end up feeling worse. He often says things like, you chose to be a mum, so get on with it, which really hurts. Wow. Since the baby arrived, he hasn't felt mentally present. I feel like I'm carrying everything, the baby, the house, and our relationship, mostly on my own. He doesn't help much, but still criticises things like the house, my parenting, and even my mental health. I know I'm dealing with postnatal anxiety and depression, but I'm still showing up every day and doing everything I can. I just don't feel like he understands how hard this is. Whenever we argue, it always comes back to I work all day, which makes me feel completely dismissed. I wanted this family so badly and I don't want it to fall apart, but right now I feel like I'm doing this alone. I'm already a single mum in a way. Does it get better? Oh gosh, first of all, I'm really glad you sent this in because I promise you, you're probably not the only one feeling this way. I'm so sorry to hear that he said you chose to be mum to get on with it. Like, that's very dismissive. I need to be careful here, obviously, because this is your relationship. It sounds like he's always been your rock, which is wonderful. It sounds like you've got a solid foundation, which is so important. But since having the baby, things have shifted a little bit, haven't they? And the fact that he's being very dismissive as your role of a mother, housekeeper, everything that you've got to do, that, let's be honest, doesn't stop, does it? It's 24/7, especially when you've got a tiny baby. There needs to be a serious conversation here. You need to be heard. And it's difficult because it can turn into an argument. And what you're describing, it's not just new mum overwhelm. It's what happens when you're carrying the physical, emotional, and mental load of the whole family. And if you're not feeling supported, resentment is going to creep in. It just is. It doesn't make you a bad partner. It doesn't necessarily make them a bad partner. It just means that your role isn't being completely understood. And if you are struggling with depression, postpartum depression as well, that's going to make it so much more difficult. The I work all day comment, that is a real tricky one. And I've got a segment coming up on that because it seems to come up a lot at the moment. The truth with that is you work too. Your day, it doesn't end. It's all the way through the night. It's all the way through the day. You can barely go to the toilet by yourself. It is the most constant thing, whilst it's wonderful. And whilst you've said in the email you always wanted to be a mum and you're happy to be a mum, it doesn't make it any less constant. It doesn't mean that your relationship's doomed, I don't think. I think, like I said, you need a real good, solid conversation. And whether that means involving someone like the health visitor, for example, who you can confide in that, look, this is how I'm feeling. I'm already struggling with postpartum depression. I don't feel like my partner is understanding the gravity of this. And I'm not saying make him out to be bad. I'm saying he just isn't understanding the gravity. And you can relay that he's always been your rock. You've got a good, solid foundation. But making comments like, I work all day, you wanted to be a mum, get on with it, is really not great. So I think maybe you could speak to someone like your health visitor and say, this is where we're at. This is how I'm feeling. What do you advise? She may come in and have a chat with you both and maybe really relay home to him how heavy this first year can be and how tiring it can be, how exhausting it can be. And when you're not feeling seen in that, it can build a lot of resentment and it can cause bigger problems in a relationship. So that would be my advice, because I think in the first instance, if, like you said, every conversation about it turns into an argument, having someone else as a mediator would really, really help. Someone who is not a family member, like I said, like the health visitor, who can come in, who can sit with you both, because it's in their interests. They want you to be thriving as a mother. And in that environment, it's going to be difficult. So I am not a medical professional. I'm just a mum, like I always say. But that would be my advice, is to get a third-party mediator who you can trust, who is a healthcare provider, who is objective in the situation, to come in and help. And maybe even tell your husband about this. Say, look, I'm really struggling. I need to get help from somebody. And they're going to look at the situation and give us some advice. If any of the listeners have been through something similar to this, can you write in the nightfeedpodcast@gmail.com and I will share your responses on next week's episode. Next email says, a huge win I never thought I'd get. I just had to share this with you and your listeners because I'm honestly still in shock. When my baby was first born, I tried breastfeeding, but it just didn't work out. After introducing a dummy, he wouldn't latch at all. So I ended up exclusively pumping and kind of accepted that that was just our journey. But today, at almost 3 months, he was really fussy, even though he'd just eaten. On a bit of a whim, I offered him the breast, and he latched. I can't even explain the feeling. I was completely overwhelmed with joy. I honestly never thought it would happen. I'll still be pumping, but now breastfeeding can be a little top up for us, and it just feels like such a special win. I'm so, so happy. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And that is such a message of hope for any listeners that haven't been able to breastfeed but are pumping. And maybe if you wanted to give it a go like this listener, it might just happen. Because I know in those early days, it can be so painful, so difficult for both of you. It's not easy for everybody, that breastfeeding journey. So if you are struggling as well, and you are prepared to keep pumping and keep going, then there's a little sign of hope that it could happen. Thanks so much for sharing that, and I'm really glad that's happened for you. The next email says, for any mum in the thick of it right now, I used to read posts like this during the newborn phase to give myself hope, so I just wanted to come back and share mine via email. I'm now a mum to a 7-month-old, and honestly, the first 5 months were very, very hard. I loved my baby, but I had more miserable moments than good ones. She was very colicky, had reflux, and cried for hours every day. Nothing seemed to help, and I constantly felt like I was doing something wrong. I didn't relate to the blissful motherhood experience everyone talks about. I felt so isolated, exhausted, and honestly quite lost. But something shifted at around 5 months. She started smiling, laughing, and actually enjoying things. The crying eased, she became easier to soothe, and suddenly there were more good moments than hard ones. Now at 7 months, I genuinely enjoy being a mum. It feels lighter, calmer, and finally more fun. I just want to say to anyone in the dark, relentless phase, it might not feel like it now, but it does change. You're not doing anything wrong, and this isn't forever. One day, without even realising when it happened, things just felt easier. Hang in there, the light does come. Thank you for that post. I love that. It is very easy to think in those early days, like I said earlier on in the episode, that it is constant. But there does come a time, like this listener said, when things get lighter and slightly easier, and your little newborn bundles of joy become toddlers that are a bit more self-sufficient, and they can entertain themselves a little bit more, and you can almost have that two-way conversation, which feels magical the first time that kind of happens. When they respond to you, it does get easier. So thank you for that. Next tonight is what's trending. Now this kind of links in to the first email we had about partner resentment and not being seen in your role as a mum. And there's this viral debate right now where parents are saying going to work feels easier than staying at home with a newborn. And honestly, it's opened up a much bigger conversation. Why do we only validate exhaustion when it's paid? Do you think that's the case? Is that the case? A parent shared a post that in their experience, going to work feels easier than staying at home with a newborn. Their core point wasn't that work is easy, but that work has structure, breaks, and adult interaction. You can complete tasks and feel a sense of accomplishment, whereas childcare is constant, unpredictable, and mentally draining. They push back on the common argument of, I've been at work all day. Like, this is exactly what was in that first email. Saying that being at home with a baby is also full-time work, just unpaid, quite invisible, and often harder to switch off from. The post basically sparked the question of, why do we validate one type of exhaustion more than another? The best responses, these are what people agreed on. So number one, childcare is relentless. This came up again and again. People describe no breaks, no clear start or finish, the constant noise, touch, responsibility, stimulation, and being on 24/7. The word that kept coming up most is relentless. Number 2, this is another response that everybody agreed on, well, a lot of people agreed on, was stop competing because both are hard. A lot of parents push back on the debate itself, and the consensus was that it's not about who has it harder, it's about both people being exhausted in different ways and supporting each other instead of keeping score. And I think this is so important. I think a really healthy trait in a relationship is when each person really, really empathizes with how the other person's feeling. It is so easy to come down of a morning and be like, oh, I'm so tired. And then the other person go, oh, I'm so tired. Oh, I was up this many times. Oh, I was up. And it turns into like a one-upmanship on tiredness. But the best thing I think in this situation a partnership can do is to really acknowledge how the other person's feeling. And be like, oh God, that must be really hard. You've been up so much last night. I'll take him for half an hour. Get yourself a coffee. Go and have 10 minutes. Come round. Go and get in the shower. And the same with being at home all day. You know, if your partner has been at work, but you can say, gosh, I don't know how you do this all day. It's so hard, isn't it? It's so relentless. Like, go and have yourself a bath. And equally, if your partner's had a really stressful day at work, get on their level, understand, say, you can talk to me. I think validating each other helps so much because you feel seen and they feel seen. And ultimately, that's what we want, isn't it? I think. And then the third thing that people, or a comment that came up a lot, was that work doesn't change, but your life at home does. And this was a really big one that people said, going to work is something you already know how to do. That doesn't change. But becoming a parent is a complete identity shift overnight. You can both work through your 20s, for example, doing a job. Then if you're going to stay at home, one becomes a mum. You both become parents. But the person that goes to work can, obviously they're going to be more tired. Obviously they've got more home life going on, but their job stays kind of steady and they know what they're doing. They've been doing it for years. They carry on doing that. This is just an example, by the way. The person at home is completely different. It is as wonderful as it is difficult at times. So it's acknowledging that one person's day isn't completely different, whereas the other person's is. Number 4, invisible labour is the real issue. Many responses highlighted the mental load, planning, researching, remembering everything, emotional regulation, and being the default parent. It's not just doing more, it's thinking about everything all the time. I don't love this term, the default parent. I don't love it. I keep seeing it being flung around all the time. I think when you become a parent, you should both be the default parent. You should both be equally responsible. However, I do empathise with the fact that when you are the main caretaker, for ease, I'm just going to go with saying when you're the mum and you're at home all day with the baby, you become the person that knows everything about routine, about doctor's appointments, about health visitor appointments, about what the baby's going to eat that day, what you're going to eat that day, what food's going to be there, what washing you need, you know the drill. It can be invisible. And I had this chat with Jason the day. I said, sometimes it feels like I am doing things and I'm doing it again and I'm doing it again and it's still messy. And the example I'll use is the one I did at the beginning, which is cleaning up after a weaning baby. I mopped the floor yesterday morning, big mistake in the morning. Come 12 o'clock, it was a mess. And I had a bit of a moment. I was like, oh, I'm doing stuff to do again and do again and do again. And I compared it to I said, imagine going on your work laptop, right? Reading all your emails and actioning them, and then it all being reversed and you having to do it again. Because that's sometimes how it feels. And it can feel at times invisible, like the laundry pile. Oh my God, that bloody laundry pile. I put all the laundry away the other day. My worst job in the house, my worst job is folding up the laundry. Don't mind washing it, don't mind drying it. Folding it up and putting it in the drawers is the worst thing to do in the house, in my opinion. And I had a big mountain, put it all away, really chuffed with myself, hoovered around, looked spotless, right? That bedroom has now the same, if not bigger, clean laundry pile sitting on that floor, ready for me to tackle. And it is that feeling of it's never done. It's never done. Tidying up when kids are growing is like shoveling snow when snow is snowing. And I think we all feel that to our core. And then number 5 in the comments, some still prefer being at home even if it is harder. This is an interesting nuance, which says some parents agreed childcare is harder, but still said they'd choose it over going to work. I'm in that camp personally. I feel very fortunate to be at home. And whilst there is a lot to do, I would rather be at home with the kids. So when Jason and I have this discussion around work and kids, and I'm very fortunate that he goes to work and I'm able to be at home. I know that isn't the setup for everybody, but that nuance I agree with. It doesn't mean that I'm not entitled to have a little rant now and then and to be like, this is hard at times. But overall, I would rather be at home. So it's just your position on that, isn't it? It's your position on it. It's where you sit. It's how hard you find it. If you are struggling with a mental health problem as well, that adds to it. So this segment really is just about realizing everyone has their own hard. Everyone has their own hard going on. Whether you're at home, whether you're the one working, it is parenthood is a new level, isn't it? And there are some days when you're like, wow, this is intense. But then there are other days when you're like, this is the best thing ever. That's how I feel. Like, I feel some days I just wake up and I'm so grateful. I'm like, I'm grateful that I get to wake up today and hold my baby and take my girls to school and just be in the moment with them. But there are some days when you struggle a bit. And it's just getting that balance. And I think ultimately, if you're going through this with your partner and you're struggling a bit about roles, you have to talk. And when you have that talk, you have to validate each other. And I hope that helps. Please write in the nightviewpodcast@gmail.com if you have any advice or tips around this, particularly for the first email that came in for that listener who's feeling dismissed at home. If you have any advice or any tips or any resources, please let us know. My self-care tip tonight is, okay, I've started doing something, which I've only done twice. 2-day streak I've got. I've started skipping. Now I'm 11 months postpartum, so I wouldn't advise skipping if you are in those early weeks, obviously. But I've been really like toing and froing with getting some weights at home or going to the gym, and not because I'm going to go on some mental exercise routine, because I've started to feel my body more. I've started to feel when I'm bending down, like, oh, that didn't feel great. And I know when you get to, mid-30s, your body does start to, let's be honest, get a little bit older. And I know that looking after yourself now pays dividends when you're older. My mum and my dad, that I admire how much they exercise. My mum's a yoga teacher, my dad cycles. They're super fit. And as grandparents, it's brilliant because they have energy. And I look at them and I think, I want to be a grandparent like that. I don't want to have seized up legs and seized up back. And so I've been toing and froing with like, do I do a HIIT workout? Do I get a gym pass. And I'm like, when am I going to go to the gym? I barely have time. We barely have time to have a half an hour sit down overnight. So I'm like, that's not right for now. So I thought I'm going to buy a skipping rope. I'm going to buy a skipping rope because I've read about the benefits of skipping. And I'm not going to go in with any wild, big, I want these massive results. I'm going to go in with the mindset of I want my body to feel better. I want to feel stronger. I want to feel healthier. So I bought a skipping rope and I did 10 minutes on, what day of the week? Monday, and 10 minutes on Tuesday. And that's all I did. Just did 10 minutes. I put on a pumping, it's like I think it's 140 megabytes? What's the word when it's music? You know what I mean? Beats per minute. There we go. Beats per minute. I found a Spotify playlist that is for skipping. 140 beats per minute. And it's all bangers like Run the World by Beyonce. I was loving that. I was having a little skip. The baby went to sleep. And I am working hard of a night now to get him down. So I'm not just holding him. I'm like putting him down at 8 o'clock. I went outside in the garden, put trainers on, 10 minutes of skipping, no questions. Little warm up, little warm down. And I've done it 2 days. And I downloaded the app, Habit Tracker, I think it's called, it's free. And you just track when you do it. And I'm really trying to hold myself accountable. Last night we went out for tea and we got in quite late. We did bedtime a bit later. I thought, don't dare be like, oh, we've been out. Went into the garden, 10 minutes. And I'm going to do it again today. It's pouring down with rain here in Manchester today. Surprise, surprise. And if it's raining later, I'm going to still do it. And I'll keep you updated. This isn't me telling you, oh, you have to exercise, you have to move. I'm just saying it's something that I'm going to stick with to make me feel better about moving my body. So there you go. If you fancy skipping, you can get a skipping rope off Amazon for less than a tenner. And it's just something you can... I just find it a little bit more simple than getting YouTube on, rolling my mat out, getting the body weights, or even going for a walk. I always recommend going for a walk, but going out in your garden or your backyard with a skipping rope feels simple, something really simple about it. And apparently, I don't know how true this is, but 10 minutes of skipping, you burn the same amount of energy as half an hour jogging. Again, this was a fact I found on TikTok, so don't quote me on that, but there we go. See if that makes you feel any better. Again, like I said, if you're in the early postpartum days, I wouldn't recommend skipping yet. But when you're cleared and when you feel better, then maybe give it a try. Finally, to finish on a quote I wrote, it's 1:36 p.m. The baby just fell asleep, nestled in your arms. You reach for the remote, but something stops you. The dishes in the sink, the bedroom carpet that hasn't been hoovered in God knows how long, the nappy bin that really needs emptying, the hair mask you've been desperate to try. Oh, and then there's the quick 15-minute postpartum workout you swore you were going to do every day. But then you feel this overwhelming urge to lean into that contact nap, to put the series on and just be, because God knows, mama, rest is progress too. Thanks for listening tonight, as always. Keep your emails coming in, thenightfeedpodcast@gmail.com. If you listen on Spotify, drop me a comment. Happy to have a chat in the comments. I always respond to you via email. I've had some lovely back and forths with some of you lovely mums from all around the world, which I really, really enjoy. So even if you've not got a question for the podcast, even if you've not got a story to share, if you just want to say hey, drop me an email, thenightfeedpodcast@gmail.com. And I wish you all a restful, hopefully relaxing, peaceful night ahead. Good night.